Just like any August, France is on holiday. Nearly 3/4 of the country is estimated to get away this time of year. And while some head to the mountains or the countryside, a large number find themselves in the newest coronavirus hotspot along the Mediterranean coast. But as holidaymakers kick back and relax, many are forgoing rules put in place to stop the virus. On Marseille's Prado Beach, it's little different to 2019, and social distancing is hard to see.
I've never gone on holiday with a mask. This is really contrary to what holidays are about. I don't wear it all the time, even if it's required. It's constraining.
At the beach, it's weird. On public transport, I understand. Same for enclosed spaces. But open air? Useless.
Up and down the French Riviera, restaurants have tried to balance giving holidaymakers a good time while enforcing health rules from the government.
People get together on holidays, there's a good atmosphere and they let themselves go a bit. It's up to us to control them and to calm them down if they're getting a bit excessive.
Yet not all establishments are complying with French regulations that require servers to wear face masks and keep their distance. Multiple waiters we witnessed were casually following the rules. Across France's southernmost regions, the virus reproduction, or R rate, is now higher than the French capital. Health authorities have strived to keep these figures under 1 and have warned that if the rate tops 2, the virus could spread dangerously. Local cities have done what they can to stop the spike and get this region off of France's red list. For weeks now, Marseille has made mask wearing mandatory in most neighborhoods, and dozens of other summer hotspots along the Mediterranean coastline have followed their lead. But compliance has been a challenge. Police are on foot, reminding residents and visitors it's not a recommendation, but a rule. Offenders could face fines that start at €135. Ryan Thompson, Euronews, Marseille.
Now in France and other parts of Europe, millions will return to work and school in just a week's time. But there are growing fears that summer holidays have not just spiked the virus, but led to many putting their guard down. Here to discuss what this could mean is Martin McKee, Professor of European Public Health at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. Thanks very much for joining us on Good Morning Europe. As we saw there in the reports, there's lots of resistance to social distancing, difficulty in enforcing the rules. What message needs to be sent out at the moment, especially as people prepare to go back to work and back to school?
Well, the clear message is that this is a very dangerous virus and it's still circulating at levels that are far too high. And it is very unfortunate that we seem to be forgetting the lessons that we learned whenever the restrictions came in, which have been remarkably successful in getting the rates down. But as you've said, we're now seeing a resurgence in many places.
And what do you make of the situation in countries like France and Spain, which seem to be having difficulty in keeping the numbers under control?
I think it would be helpful if we tried to build on what we have learned about this virus. The problem actually is much less outdoors. And one of the people who was interviewed said, well, if you're on the beach, it probably doesn't make so much of a difference, providing you keep a degree of distance from other people. We need to look at face coverings, social distancing, hand washing as part of a package. You can't have one without the other. And I think what we're in danger of seeing is people are wearing face coverings and then thinking that they can be all over each other and very close to one another. That's not the case. What was disturbing in your film was that you did have a waiter who was standing on top of people who were being served with the face covering down around his chin. Now that clearly is very dangerous, even if you are outside, if you're that close. But the real risk is indoors. The real risk is in crowded shops, and we've seen pictures from a number of countries, France, Spain, elsewhere, of people being very crowded together inside shops and not respecting that distancing. Obviously, restaurants, indoor bars, nightclubs and so on, we've seen time and again outbreaks in those sorts of settings.
And we saw there also pictures of chaos or long queues at Austria's borders. Do you think that unless this is brought more under control, we're likely to see more local lockdowns, more restrictions imposed through the autumn?
I think a number of countries have improved their data systems considerably so we can have much more granularity. I'm a bit cautious about restrictions that start and finish at borders because within Europe, borders have become much less important. How would you deal, for example, with the city or twin cities that are divided by a river or something like that, that function as a single entity? Geneva would be an example. Many people work in Geneva but live in France. So we, I think, need to look across borders, and we need to look at more restricted lockdowns and quarantines rather than having them on an entire country. Quite a lot of controversy when the UK brought in its quarantine rules on all of Spain, including the Balearics and the Canaries, whenever the risk was primarily with parts of mainland Spain. I think we just need to be much more clever about this.